Welcome back, everybody. We're here. We're here at the back half, or not even the back half. We're at almost the end of the season now. It is finally officially rivalry week. The point in time where no record matters, no record is safe, no matter your ranking, no matter your position. It's good old fashioned hatred for the other team. We want to jump straight into this one. Probably has one of the more, based off of last weekend, one of the most I want to say influential games, but maybe the game that holds the most weight going into next weekend, barring both of these teams legitimately have a shot now to go to the college football playoffs, and that's South Carolina traveling on the road to Clemson. It's a noon kick right now as of Monday night. Clemson is a 2.5 point favorite right now at home. This game is really, it comes down to what are these teams really? Because you look at Clemson, and Clemson's coming into this one with a 9-2 record, but really you look at their schedule and it's kind of like who have they played? They played no ranked teams outside of Georgia, and I think they played Louisville. When they played Louisville, Louisville was ranked. If I believe that one, the loss they had at home to Louisville, and you look outside of that, you thought maybe Florida State was going to be a good team this year at the beginning of the year, and maybe that would be a good test for them. People had some stipulations about Virginia Tech being a team that could compete for the ACC this year. They kind of fell off, so it looks like you have a rattle of just opponents that really kind of hold no weight, but you kept your record intact by going and winning these football games outside of Georgia, which was an absolute beatdown at the beginning of the season, and then the Louisville game, which they just looked like they could not stop the run. Louisville just ran the ball all over Clemson in that ball game. Then you turn the page and you look over to South Carolina. South Carolina is a team that looked, if you watch that Old Dominion game, they looked as if a lot of teams looked at that and said, yeah, the predictions were right. We don't know if this team will win 5 games because of how bad they looked at that game. Took the late game heroics at the end to go down there and win the game against Old Dominion. Then you turn around and you whoop Kentucky. You host LSU at home, and everybody knows how that game kind of went between the refs and losing Lenores in that game. And that's the one game I think everybody looks back on as like, that's the game that's going to keep you out of the college football playoff solidified. Like you would be competing for the SEC championship game if it wasn't for that loss right there. Because the only real loss on South Carolina's schedule that holds real weight is the Ole Miss loss at home, where you got blown out. Of course, you lose to Bama and you lose to LSU also, but those games were within a combination of 5 points in those ball games all together. So those are their losses, but you could flip a coin and they could go either way, especially if those teams played each other at this point in the season with how those teams are playing right now. You beat that Texas A&M team, you beat the Missouri team. I think South Carolina is just at a point right now where they're playing really good football. I watched that Wofford game, and uh some things kind of concerned me because we fixed a lot of stuff when it came into that game. Of Shane was like, our penalties early in the season were a big issue. We were penalized a lot. We were turning the ball over a lot. We fixed the turnovers and we've kind of got the penalties down, but then the penalties kind of crept back into it when it came to that Wofford game. Now, albeit it's senior night, you got a ton of seniors, you got the emotions of the game, families are all there traveling there. So hey, maybe you chalk some of that up to that. But all in all, they still came out and won that football game. To me, I'm looking at this game, and if they can play the brand of football that Shane has them playing right now, and what surprised me most with this team this year is their ability to go on the road, because that's been Shane's weakness in his first couple of seasons here at South Carolina, was you go on the road and you just drop the ball. Versus this year, you going on to Vanderbilt when Vandy was playing good. You went to Oklahoma against a good defense, went to Bama and fought Bama, and then you went on the road to Kentucky and obliterated Kentucky on the road. You've had great performances in all of your road games. And I don't think Clemson is ready for this type of team to come into their stadium to play them in a noon game. If it was a night game, maybe you'll get a different thing for me, but a noon game, South Carolina, they're firing all cylinders right now. They're playing top level football. Lenore Sellers is looking like one of the top quarterbacks, not only in the conference, but in the country right now at this point in the season, as far as efficiency, accuracy, playmaking ability to just keep the play alive and make plays down the field, decision making, all of that. And then you got Rocket Sanders, who's playing a good brand of football right now. And this receiving core is finally caught up to the level of play that we needed them to be this year. So with all that being said, I'm not saying that they're more talented. I think Clemson still has a very talented team, but I just think the skill level of who South Carolina has played against and who Clemson has played against tells me that South Carolina is more tested for this type of game. They're more proven against tougher opponents to walk into this one versus Clemson, where the last meaningful game Clemson was in was the Pitts game, and it took a 50-yard scramble by their quarterback to win that game within the last minute of the ball game. I remember watching that. I was like, hey, they lost that one until Pitt just decided we're not going to tackle the quarterback, even though he was trying to run out of bounds and ended up just turning it up the field to go score. I really think this, I mean, it should be close. I think it's going to be another makeup of what when we went to Clemson year before last, when we had Spencer Rattler. I really think if South Carolina can get back to keep protecting the football, don't have turnovers, they win this game comfortably. Honestly, I do believe that. I think they win this game by give me 2 touchdowns in this one. I really think they'll win it. And if everything else falls the way it's been falling so far, South Carolina has a real shot at sneaking in the back half of the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Van. I think the biggest thing about this game to me is the matchup that makes this fight. And I think South Carolina is just too big of a matchup for Clemson. And I think Clemson to me is always about like, who have you played up to this point? I really don't want to try to hone in on that point because I feel like you really can't control the schedule too much. But to me, when I think about what Clemson has faced, they've not faced a team that can match them physically in a long time. So it's like you got a team that up in the front eight of this game is going, the trenches of this game is going to be an evenly matched field, if not slanted in more South Carolina's way just because of their defensive line. Now, I think that's going to be something that's going to be a huge point in this game. And to me, what makes Clemson work the way they've been working these past couple of weeks is their run game. I don't think they're gonna be able to run the ball as easy as they've been running the past couple of weeks to be able to keep this game close. So really, my analysis on this game, and I don't want to go too deep on it, but I think the first quarter is going to be the deciding factor in this game. I think it's to a point if South Carolina can come out the gate shooting on all cylinders, they're going to take the life out of Clemson pretty early, and there's not going to be many answers for that test for Clemson. It's going to be okay, cool. We're not ready for this game. Our season's over with. Just because I've seen them kind of be in that position before where they just can't get back up to the level of intensity and momentum they need to do to stay in the game. And to me, if South Carolina can continue to hit on all cylinders, if Lenore can really come in this game and be a dual threat that he's been in the past couple of weeks, I don't think they're gonna be stopped. Truly be honest, I don't think they're gonna be stopped until they can really just come up with a team that just defensively can know how to stop this offense. And when you have him pass the ball the way he's been passing the ball lately, it's unstoppable. I mean, it's one of those like just natural effects of he's too big and strong as a runner to not put people in the box to protect that. Versus him throwing the ball for 300 something yards, it's gonna be like, all right, cool. What are we really gonna do to stop this? So I don't think Clemson has the dogs ready for this fight altogether, and I do have them losing by at least 10 points in this game. I really think it's gonna be a physical matchup to where Clemson just cannot be physical for a full 60 minutes. But I think it's going to be to a point where South Carolina gets up early and take their foot off the gas, and then they have to kind of rally to keep the score, keep the lead going forward. So I think it's going to be a good game. But like you said, Van, the winner of this game to me has an 80+% chance to make it to the playoffs. And I would love to see one of these teams right here sneaking the end of it.
Yeah, and I think Carolina is the team. If you look at the committee chairman when he says, okay, we got 12 teams to choose from. I see where we got them ranked. We're looking for the 12 best teams. We're going to see if they actually select the 12 best teams. If Carolina wins this game, they would qualify to me as one of the 12 best teams. They honestly should have won that game in Tuscaloosa, right? They should only have one loss right now. And again, like you said, Van, if it wasn't for Sellers going out and I might have been the LSU game, I think they would have won that game too. Carolina is the real deal. And I just don't think that Clemson is going to be ready. Drew, yes, you're right. It's going to be physical for about 3 quarters. I'm going to coaching here to how this game ends up being won or lost. I'll go back to the beginning of last season when we were really high on Carolina and their head coach, Beamer, and his coaching staff and what he was bringing to the table with the excitement and the energy. The only thing that could be better for Carolina is this could be a home game. I don't care whether it's night or day, but the only thing that could be better would be a home game. I don't think Clemson stands a chance in this game. Carolina has too much momentum. I think they done won 5 in a row, 5 in a row.
First time
Something
since
like
2013.
Yeah, I mean the recipe for success is already on the table. Like it's Thanksgiving week, you know what I'm saying? The recipes are out in everybody's house, in America right now. And Shane Beamer got them recipes to win this football game out on his kitchen table right now. I got Carolina winning this game, last second field goal, but they're gonna win it and they're gonna punch their ticket to the big dance, and they're gonna make noise when they get there. I'm gonna leave that right there.
I hear. Hey, I just want to take this moment I got an issue. I've been very negative on Dow Loggins this season and his play calling. I just got to put this. It's been I'm not saying it's been perfect, but I got to say within this winning streak that South Carolina has going on right now, he's been calling a very good plays and very good drives going on. Another thing you were saying, Drew, as far as Carolina getting off to a hot start, their opening drives and ending quarters, they're 1 minute. They have not ended a half. They've started the game with a score and ended every half with a score within 2 minutes of each other every single ball game for the past 4 games, where they're coming out hitting all cylinders, going down and getting a touchdown, or either right before the half or right before the end of the game being able to score within a minute or within a 2-minute drill of that offense. That takes good play calling. It takes all your playmakers finally understanding what you want to do on offense. And if that's the version of South Carolina's offense that shows up on Saturday against Clemson, Clemson's going to be in trouble because the defense is going to show up to play. And I don't think Clemson's offense has seen a defense like what they're going to see from South Carolina up until Saturday. So if you get the offense to show up along with it, you might see a showing like what happened at Oklahoma, but you have the offense that comes to play as well in that ball game. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that game turns out.
Yeah, my only go ahead, real quick, Sean, for Clemson is that the experience and the players that they do have a veteran team and a veteran head coach that's been in these type of games before, where he knows on the other end of the field that we do have a young quarterback. And I think the biggest thing for South Carolina this season that has thrown them off in games is when Lenore Sellers has not been him true self and having the moment be bigger than what he really is in this offense. If he can control the ball, control the tempo of the game, have things like you said a couple weeks ago that he's had the game slow down for him in this type of game, because Clemson's going to be bumping. Yeah. I don't care if it's 12 o'clock game or a night game. For the first half, they're going to be drunk as skunks out there living it up in Clemson. So I think it's going to be a game that he really has to just mentally manage. And I think in the past, watching them this past couple of weeks, that's been the most growth in his game. Mm-hmm. It's almost like to me, and I like to make this comparison, Bryce Young in the NFL. Like when you have so much coming at you and you never get a chance to step away from the game to really understand, like, where am I making my mistakes at? Which I feel like he got a couple losses in the injury time. But I feel like his injury was his best thing that happened in his career this season, just because he got to take a step away from the game and really look at where do I need to focus on to get better. And I think that's something that I want to see him in this game do, is really come out from the jump in a big-time, prime-time game where your season's on the line and you really be the quarterback that everybody's been predicting you to be, and give it to your head coach. Beamer's been the most confident in him since he's been on his campus. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and the one thing I did not say that I wanted to just touch on real quick, which you just may have made mention of, Van, was Carolina's defense, man. It is with, Sellers and Rocket and all this and that, Beamer, all this and that. Their defense has really been the staple throughout the course of this entire season. The defense has been, I'm going to call them elite. Carolina has an elite group of grown men on the defensive side of the ball. Not just Clemson, but anybody else that they face this year is going to have to figure out how to deal with this defense. That's what's going to win them. That's what's going to win the Clemson game, and that's what's going to end up propelling them to a couple of wins in the playoffs, seeing as though they get there. That defense is good enough. Because I'm gonna tell you, if you look at the top 12 teams based on the AP poll right now, how many of those teams do you think are offensively efficient enough over the course of a whole game to move the ball and score against Carolina. Like you said, if Carolina's offense comes to the party and the defense is already at the party, man, they can make a little run here. Things are just coming together at the right time. You got grown men on the defensive side of the ball. I ain't just talking about the line. I'm talking about the linebackers and the secondary. They kind of got it all on defense, and that's just not really being talked about a whole lot. But that's going to be the main reason why they end up winning not just this game, but a couple more before the season's over with.
Yeah. And then one last point, I will say this: when this team faced last year, with all the deficiency that 5-win team had last year, there was no offensive touchdown scored in the last time these teams met in Columbia, South Carolina last year. And South Carolina has only gotten better in that time frame. So it's going to be real interesting. We're going to see how it turns out. But I really think if South Carolina gets this, it's going to make it be for a very interesting conversation for the best 3-loss team in the SEC. Who makes it, who squeaks in the end of that that college football playoff kind of rankings, and which we'll see tomorrow. But we want to get this out early, due to the Thanksgiving holiday and all that kind of stuff going on. But we'll see how close they put them to being. That'll be the real telltale sign, is where do they get ranked tomorrow. If they put them at that 15, 14, 13 spot in that range, I think that's the committee making a statement saying that, hey, if they knock off a ranked Clemson team that's ahead of them, they are going to be in when it comes to Selection Sunday. But we shall see. But until then, we'll see y'all next time, and stay tuned. We got more videos coming out this week. We'll see y'all in a bit.